Hello and welcome to the Late Shift. It's been a while, and today we are joined by my lovely co-hosts who are called
James,
Jonah,
and Saul.
It's been a whole 3 months since our last episode, which means we took a very long break and enjoyed our wonderful Christmas holidays, our non-existent Thanksgiving in the UK, and of course the festival of my birth, which takes place on the 29th of December. Did you guys have a wonderful 3 months? Did you fail all your New Year's resolutions, or have you not set any for this year?
One thing I was thinking is the fact that the reason why we take a break around Christmas and New Year's is because we know that everyone is spending time with their family and not concerned about listening to the Late Shift, so we're not going to bombard you.
And we want to give you something to inspire your Valentine's Day gifts and activities. So you've got something to do with the potential love of your life or future breakup. Apparently, Valentine's Day is like the worst day for breakups.
The week before Valentine's Day is statistically the most probable time for a breakup.
I'll tell you why that is, because money saving.
Valentine's Day for someone before Christmas.
No, think about it, because Christmas is a date you remember. Yeah, so it's fixed in your head.
Christmas is way more fucking expensive, though.
No, Valentine's Day is a day where you could easily be about a week from Valentine's Day and go, oh shit, I've forgotten about Valentine's Day.
I better just cut the ties now.
Yeah, cut the ties now, save some money, because I've not reserved any cash. I can't afford this Valentine's Day. I think there's a lot of people out there who would wait to the week before Valentine's Day, because you're like, I hate this person, I'm going to ram it home.
I'm going to make sure they spend Valentine's Day alone.
Yeah, guaranteed.
I would say the best month to break up with someone is probably like November, like early November. You've just had a wonderful Halloween, and now you can rid yourself of the horror of Halloween along with your relationship.
Yeah, but people like having someone warm over the winter months.
Spoken like a Viking raider.
Yeah?
No, seriously, you guys are thinking about this all wrong.
People crave that comfort when it's colder,
The best date isn't on the calendar. The best date to break up with someone is probably just before their birthday, because that way they will always remember you.
Why do you want that? You
can go down.
You call me a psychopath. You're like, I want to ruin their birthday forever. I want to have my, I was just a fling, but I want to impact their life to the degree they remember me. No, what the hell?
I wouldn't really do that. I'm not heartless.
So going back to my question, did you set any New Year's resolutions, or is that an old man game?
No, I had a couple. One was to write more stuff down, because I don't think enough stuff is written down. I can get back to that if you like. And the other one was to get a job.
A lot of people get the New Year's resolution of getting a job, but it's really mean to yourself because it's not within your power. You can send out all the applications you want, but it's like there's not a huge amount you can do you can't give yourself a job, unfortunately. It's not like, when people say, I want to lose weight, you can do that. That's all in your control.
That's where you're mistaken. I am the house's kitchen porter. I scrub plates. I tidy dishes. It's a job.
You're a dish pig.
Yeah, so I didn't say it was a good job. I have a job.
The point isn't the fact that, okay, yes, maybe you're just unhireable, but it's the whole fact that you are trying to increase the chance of getting hired. That is in your control.
Fair enough.
Not if you have leprosy.
Okay,
well, none of us have
that. Very rare chance that you have leprosy. Fine.
I'm just saying, imagine this. You're a leper. You really want to get into nursing. What are you going to do? No New Year's resolution's going to bring that about.
No, that's a specific job. It just says get a job. So maybe he becomes a Twitch streamer.
Okay, I could see that.
Their tagline is every time you watch me, there's less and less of me.
Someone's made a $100 donation, just pull off a fingernail. This one's for you. Bad. I think my New Year's resolution was to remember this New Year's resolution, which I've subsequently forgotten. Therefore,
you're free.
I'm free. No, I honestly don't remember mine. I think it was something along the lines of stop being flat-footed.
How's that going?
Not well.
You just walk on tiptoes. I don't have a New Year's resolution.
Fucking look at Mr. I've got my life sorted out over there.
No, it's not that in the slightest. I just think it's fucking ridiculous because most of them are dropped and forgotten about. So what's the point?
Well,
I know I'm going to fail, so I don't even start it.
You sound like Vince
the thing is,
dodgeball.
So you've not given yourself a chance to fail because you've not set a resolution.
Exactly.
Besides, I think it's selfish to not allow us the right to tell you I told you so and to be, proven right. You've denied other people that.
I think my New Year's resolution was to take more pictures, which I have done. I've started an Instagram account
What a
because
nut.
What?
Tumblr
How is that
fucking
improving
took the
you?
porn
How
off.
is that?
How
That is
did you
improving
judge
my life.
me for not having one when yours is literally just
Yeah.
take more
Okay, fuck
pictures?
it. My New Year's resolution was drink more tea.
Oh, what do you mean? Take more pictures is a perfectly good resolution. Jonah is being quiet because he knows that his New Year's resolution was to write down more stuff.
Yeah, for the benefit
Okay.
of posterity. My life will be important to historians of the future.
I feel like it's important to have pictures. Like, it makes you remember what it was like to be a certain age. Like, we're all getting older, and I want to make more vivid memories.
Why don't you check it out? The link below.
Val is getting an unreasonable amount of flack for New Year's resolutions which are only marginally more ridiculous than my own.
I think you explained it better because you want to write things down to what you said, improve your memory.
I carry so much credibility about my person that Saul will just make up good reasons
It
for me
made
to be doing what I'm doing.
justify it in his own head.
So, Jonah, why do you want to write things down?
Partly because I think it's therapeutic to talk to yourself, but to write that down, like to helps to rationalise what you're thinking. But the other reason is a little vain, but is because the world has become more digital. I worry what will happen if that's lost. Because when I was doing my history degree, you rely so much on what people wrote down, and what isn't written down is sometimes really hard to work out. So
That's
I
a good
thought
point. I
I
think
would
if
write
anyone
some
found
stuff down.
I've got my notebook.
You would
and
like
if-
to be the Confucius of our generation. Then.
No, more like the Samuel Pepys.
Okay.
well,
But I don't
James-
do anything important. I don't move in the heart of government. It's just me, like,
Well, obviously, I was referencing
Rambling.
Confucius because the reason we know him so well is because only his work survived. There were greater philosophers that we've forgotten about and elevate Confucius, despite the fact that during his day he was less than kind of popular.
James, you have motivated me to write even more nonsense.
Yeah, because then, when the digital age comes crashing down in the age of wolves that Aragorn was talking about, the gates of Mordor, your ramblings will be left, and people will say, "'Twas a wise man."
Well, my notebook is literally just numbers because obviously it's the one that I use when I DM. So it's just a list of numbers. That's the only thing I ever write down.
I don't think I write down anything nowadays.
Well, I have a couple of notebooks which are splattered with ideas for the D&D and stuff like that. And then I have this one notebook which is... I mean, I've been dodging around the word for this whole bit, but it is my diary. That's what it is. But in the kind of, dear diary, here's all my dark shit. Hope no one ever reads this, because that would be embarrassing kind of diary. Not, I'm having a meeting with Susan tomorrow at 2:00.
I can say from personal experience, reading back your diary does make you remember stuff, but like not always in a good way. Sometimes reading back the shit you've written makes you realize what a fucking cunt you are and how happy you should be that you're no longer that person.
Well, I've made a full start a couple of years ago, and then made the mistake of reading back what I'd written down, and it was so bad I just ripped it all out and was like, no, never again.
But I think that's a good thing. If you read your old diary from years ago and you think, oh my god, I was such a little bitch, you know that you've grown as a person, so you have changed.
What if I don't feel like I've grown? Because then the logical leap is I'm still a little bitch. I just don't realise it.
Your words, Jonah, your words.
Yeah.
Now that we've realized that all of our New Year's resolutions are shit, especially mine, let's move on to today in history, because today is the 3rd of February. And I've got a very exciting story for you boys about the original bad boy. Perhaps not the original bad boy, because after all, this story takes place in 1576. But he is a very interesting man. The person in question we'll be discussing is Henry of Navarre, who later became Henry IV of France. He's a very interesting figure because in French history, he's remembered as a fantastic king. But on the other hand, he was a terrible husband, person. And it's on this day in 1576 that he actually escaped Paris. And that might not sound like such a badass thing at all.
There's certainly a story there if you're the king of France who's escaping Paris.
At this point, he was not the king of Paris just yet. This is a major point that led to him becoming king. Just to give you some context, Henry of Navarre was the son of Antoine de Bourbon, so the Duke of Vendôme, and Jeanne d'Albret, the Queen of Navarre. So through his father, he was essentially the sole legitimate line of descent from the Capetian kings of France, but no one expected him to be king because Catherine de' Medici was basically popping out babies like it was no one's business. I think at the point when Henry was born, she was on her fourth son. And while they were growing up, there was a massive religious crisis between the Protestants and the Catholics in France. His father, Antoine, actually first aligned himself with the Protestants and then flipped sides and then ended up dying in battle. I like to think that it was God punishing him for being such a flip-floppy bitch. Henry's mum, though, she did have a spine. She told everyone to suck it and announced her Calvinism in 1560. And she took her son and brought him up with strict Protestant principles and gave him to receive very good military education. At the age of 13, he started his kind of religious and military education, and later, I think a couple of years later, ended up leading a military expedition against Catholics in his home kingdom of Navarre and won an easy victory. Because of that, she put him in the care of her brother-in-law, who is Louis I of Bourbon, and he died in battle against Duke d'Anjou, who was the future king Henry III. So our boy Henry was given to the subsequent leader of the Protestant forces, Gaspard de Coligny, who trained Henry in the military arts and gave him some proper responsibilities. And at this point, Henry was basically finding himself getting involved more on the strategic side of this civil war between the Protestants and the Catholics. And the nobles had hoped that the war that was taking place would kind of come to an end in 1570 when liberal edict was given to the Protestants. And to be safe, a marriage was basically arranged for Henry and Margaret of Valois of the French royal house. So, by the way, this is the daughter of Big Mama Bear, Catherine de' Medici. She put loads of effort into making sure that this marriage was going to take place, despite the fact that Henry's mum was very against it. She invited Henry's mum to court several times and was basically kind of whining and dining her into convincing her that Henry should definitely marry this Margaret, or Margot as she was known. Henry's mother eventually agreed to this union because, you know, who can say no to Queen? When Henry's mother died in June 1572, he became King of Navarre and the sovereign lord of Bern. I really apologize for all my stupid French pronunciations. And then on August the 18th, so a couple of months later, Margaret and Henry got married. But on August the 24th, loads, and I mean, not like just a couple of dozen, as we've said before, like thousands of Protestants were murdered by the royal forces in what is known as the St. Bartholomew's Massacre. This led to the wedding being styled as scarlet nuptials, so red wedding, oi oi. And I think on the night of the wedding, when they were supposed to be sort of solidifying their union, Henry's brother-in-law forced him to convert to Catholicism. He said to him, if you're not going to be Catholic, you're going to die. Obviously, given that choice, Henry was like, yeah, I'm going to convert to Catholicism, thanks. So essentially, he was held captive in the court for about 3.5 years. And during that time, he was careful to keep it on the DL that he was, in fact, still kind of not down with Henry III's rule and handling of everything. So he, on this day, he managed to escape Paris and join the Protestant and Catholic forces against Henry III. Did you guys know anything about Henry IV prior to this?
So these people just said, like, no, you can't be Protestant anymore. You need to be Catholic. And he was like, okay, I'm Catholic. And they were like, well, that doesn't sound very convincing.
Yeah, why try and convert someone who you're like, certain is going to be Protestant till the day they die?
It sounds like a teacher trying to get two kids to be friends. Like, say, you're sorry, I'm sorry. Well, that didn't sound very, genuine.
Their intention was to convert him to Catholicism was basically to hope to get some peace in his region.
But just like the fact, say you're Catholic. Okay, I'm Catholic. Well, I don't believe you. Well, then why did you get me to say it then?
Props to him. He joins this Protestant and Catholic forces against the king. So he didn't just go and collect all the Protestants and go like, haha, I was lying. But I think you could say that he was probably Protestant for the rest of his life. And the rebellion didn't go particularly great. A lot of people died. And eventually our hero, Henry, we need to give him a better nickname because basically the reason this part of history is a little bit confusing is because everyone's fucking called Henry. So our Henry of Navarre, his rebellion didn't go very well and they had to sign the Treaty of Bergerac in 1577 just to survive. But he didn't have to wait a huge amount of time to get back into play because the heir presumptive died in 1584, which meant Henry was now the heir presumptive. But the Pope and the Holy League really didn't like that. The Pope actually excommunicated him. The Holy League, who were supported by a lot of kind of Spanish influence, were pressuring the current king, Henry III, to fight Henry Navarre. And so the War of the Three Henrys broke out, which is a very catchy
I love
name.
the War of the Three Henrys.
It's called the War of the Three Henrys.
Which should absolutely be the title of the last ever Horrid Henry book.
One of the key battles in this, Henry defeated the king's army, and the League announced, after supporting the king all this time, they announced that they now supported the claim of the daughter of Philip II of Spain and Elizabeth Valois as the next ruler of France. Henry III, grasping the meaning of the situation and the fact that they've basically been supporting him just to put their own person in play, realized how important this moment was for the future in France, and had the Duke de Guise, who was like his main contact in the Holy League, assassinated in December of 1588. And he later reconciled with Henry of Navarre to discuss what they can do for the future of France, and laid siege to Paris in the summer of that year. And in August, due to unforeseen circumstances, I mean, it's not phrased as dodgily, Henry III was stabbed in his headquarters, died the next day after staunchly proclaiming Henry of Navarre as the head of the House of Bourbon, as his successor to the French crown. It's a bit suspicious, you know, when you lay siege and you suddenly get stabbed, and then, you know, the guy that you were fighting all this time suddenly kind of just becomes king. It's a bit dodgy. Because I don't imagine that when you're doing a siege, that you, as the king, would be surrounded by a lot of your enemies close enough to stab you.
You'd like to think you would.
So yeah, you'd like to think that, you know, whoever was laying the siege kind of thought this through and was like, let's not put the king on the front line. Let's not just like leave his tent unprotected.
Yeah.
Henry III was stabbed, and apparently said, Henry Navarre, you know, he's my boy, he's got to go, he's got to be the king. And when Henry III died, our boy Henry was deserted by a lot of the previous court following this, and then had to fight Spain in the face of the Holy League with the support of merchants and sellswords. Somehow, within 8 years, he managed to push them back and achieve relative peace home and abroad. And his policies following that in France were incredibly popular, and he is traditionally credited with having desired for every laborer, this is a French expression, la poulet au pot, which is a chicken to eat every Sunday. And he used his geniality and his persuasive manner to win obedience of people all around. He restarted the French economy, so went from having a huge amount of debt to having a reserve of 18 million livres. He introduced the silk industry to France and encouraged the manufacture of cloth, glassware, and tapestries, and other luxury items, and all the while continued to have various mistresses, cheat on his wife, almost die from gonorrhea. Basically, he had a lot of common sense, and he had a very hungry dick.
I think he was assassinated, you know?
Was assassinated, yeah. The article kind of phrased it like, oh, he went before his time. How terrible. But to be fair, like, loads of people tried to assassinate him.
A lot of women said that too.
Yeah, his wife, as I said, had a terrible time with the fact that he had this insatiable appetite for women, and her mum really didn't help that whole situation by kind of
being thick,
just being an asshole to her every single time. Henry held several mistresses, but he always held one as his kind of like first lady amongst them all. Several mistresses, and as a consequence of that, acquired several venereal diseases. And his wife, you know, she kept up with that by having affairs of her own. So when Henry escaped Paris for the first time, he actually left on his own, leaving his wife there, who had a terrible time, obviously, because she was immediately judged as being complicit in helping him escape. And she was imprisoned. Eventually, she was released because her mum did some finagling. He basically said that he wanted his wife back at his side, and her mother escorted her to the border in order to reunite them once again. Henry then proceeded to cheat on her, as he was wont to do, and eventually Margaret left him and went back home. And her mother was like, why did you do that, you stupid bitch? You should have stayed with your husband. Everybody in the court were giving her such a terrible time. She ended up leaving and locking herself in one of these random castles, and she had no money, So she kept begging her mum for money, and her mum kept sending her letters basically being very horrible to her and being like, I've been a wonderful wife to my husband and put up with his cheating, and it's your duty as a wife to do the same. Then the royal court basically realized that by keeping Henry IV and his wife apart, they had some power over him because she hadn't yet borne him any heirs. So even if he was to become king, his line had no kind of hope of succession. But because Margaret was not the most faithful to her husband either, they eventually decided to annul the marriage because it was causing shame to everyone. She took another lover, and then her mother's patience finally ran out, and she insisted to Henry III that they arrest this insufferable torment, as she described her daughter, and act before she brings shame on us again. She was locked up and executed. The Parliament of Paris petitioned that Henry should marry a princess worthy of his dignity, and while that may sound like a backhanded,
it's a very backhanded compliment.
Henry apparently took note and began considering several candidates from several foreign states. And according to Sully, who was one of his friends, he ruled out a German wife on the grounds that it would feel like going to bed with a wine barrel. Eventually, he ended up settling on Maria de Medici, marrying her not because she was particularly beautiful or intelligent or they had a special connection, but because she had enormous wealth.
Well, I feel like if you're a king, you have a surplus of pretty and intelligent. What you don't have is a surplus of wealth. Much harder to find.
Yeah, but, it didn't stop them from developing a romance. Henry wrote her several letters in which they kind of described their love, and he was saying that he wanted to kiss her 1,000,000 times, which is the exact same phrasing that he sent to his mistress, called Henriette d'Entragues.
Did they compare notes, do you reckon?
I don't know. They had kind of a proxy marriage in Florence, and then Maria sailed with like this great pomp to Marseille, where she disembarked, and she was already pregnant.
Ta-da!
When she arrived at her new dwellings, and she found them so shabby that at first she thought that Henry was playing a joke because it was so shit. Because he didn't spend any time there, obviously. He spent most of his time warring and fucking. He didn't care about the home. Yeah. Warring and whoring.
And I don't imagine his wife was the most dutiful in the housekeeping for her cheating husband.
Yeah, so when his second wife arrived at his, at his court, she was really fucking pissed off. Then when she gave birth and it turned out to be a boy, apparently the whole household were there to celebrate this moment. He apparently rushed from military duties to a bedside to serve, as he joked, as one of her midwives. And he ushered 200 courtiers to the chamber to share the euphoria. Unfortunately for Marie, around the same time, the mistress, Henrietta, who got the same phrasing about being kissed 1,000,000 times, also produced a son. And Henry not only made the same fuss over his second son, but declared that the second son was better looking, not fat, and not as dark as Louis de Medici.
Jesus Christ.
Henry then insisted to Marie that she was not only to raise their children, but also look after his illegitimate children in the same household. Needless to say, she fucking hated him.
Yeah.
I think side by side, these are very interesting profiles of the same person, because on the one hand, he was so good to his people, and because of his philandering, he was in touch with so many different classes of French people that he was able to create policies that kind of benefited everyone, whether you were Catholic or Protestant, whether you were rich or poor. People seemed to be happy, the economy was thriving, but so was his collection of venereal diseases and bastards.
We all have our weaknesses, don't we?
And this is why on this day, we're going to celebrate the fact that Henry IV, at that time still being Henry of Navarre, escaping Paris.
Yeah, cool.
Fair play.
On this day, also, the colony of Massachusetts became the first of the American colonies to create paper money. So just in
first
1690,
Americans to create paper money.
The first dollar bill.
I don't wonder who was the first country to use paper money. Does anyone know?
We mentioned this in a previous episode. We were talking about who invented the dollar symbol at some point, weren't we?
Yeah.
I imagine it would have something to do with the Knights Templar, no? Because
they certainly kind of modernized banking as we know it, which I think
China was the first country to print paper in 1618 AD. Sorry, 618 AD.
Yeah, I was about to say China got the. I mean, China had ice cream.
Paper, or they printed paper, or they made paper money.
They had paper money.
In 1863, Samuel Clemens first uses the pen name Mark Twain in a Virginia City newspaper. So it was from that day that he became known. But the reason I mention that is because in 1931, Arkansas legislature passes a notion to pray for the soul of journalist H.L. Mencken after he calls the state the apex of Moronia. And I just love that because, like, that's in writing, that's in law. Let's pray for the soul of this fucking journalist who shat on our state. You know, I thought this Mencken fella must have been like a really, you know, edgy dude that pissed him off by calling them moronic. But they were the ones that were in the wrong. But history kind of says otherwise. Mencken's diary indicated that he was racist and an anti-Semite who privately used coarse language and slurs to describe various ethnic and racial groups, though he believed it was poor taste to use such slurs publicly. Mencken said that war is a good thing because it is honest, it admits the central fact of human nature. A nation too long at peace becomes a sort of gigantic old maid. But the weird connection between Mencken and Mark Twain is that despite the fact that he was incredibly racist, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn was he considered one of the finest work of American literature. He particularly relished Twain's depiction of the succession of the gullible, ignorant townspeople, or boobs, as Mencken referred to them.
Huh.
Yeah, I guess. Do you remember when we found out that the largest filibuster ever was over 24 hours against the civil rights movement?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy. Some guy just spoke for 24 hours about why racism is good.
I just feel like it's kind of sad you don't see that anymore, you know.
What, racism?
Racism. 24-hour lectures on race on segregation and its virtues.
I was saying that, like, you know, in the UK at the moment, we're quite concerned about this whole Brexit malarkey, but it's not going into legislature that we're going to pray for someone's soul because we disagree with something they said about us.
What you would like someone in the House of Commons to stand up and be like, I'd like to lead the House in prayer for Theresa May's soul. And then we'll just go like, Our Father art in heaven, please end this woman's suffering. Through smite or through accident, it doesn't matter. But truly, such a wretched creature deserves no more pain.
I'm just wondering, like, how did this emotion...
Well, but would you not be, like, completely enraged by that? If you were a politician or a person in power and you had a go and they said, oh, I'll pray for your soul, it's really quite, like, bounding onto the moral high horse, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like
being like, oh, I'm a good Christian.
You know, goodness, God is definitely going to fucking murk your ass in hell.
Going off topic, the other day, actually, I bumped into these two American guys, quickly learned that they were religious, and I thought, you know, it was fine, okay. And then it was just at the end of the conversation, they said, oh, by the way, do you want us to pray for you today? I just kind of like looked at them and was like, I'm okay. I just think there's, if you honestly believe in prayer, then I think there's other people out there that probably deserve praying for more than me.
They looked at you dead in your eyes and they were like, I wouldn't say that, Saul. You have no idea what's coming for you today, do you?
Yeah.
Like,
the day is young.
The fucking help we can get.
It seems strange to say to a stranger, I'll pray for you.
Yeah, people do that a lot.
Oh, well, it's the first time it's happened to me and I felt very awkward.
Oh, I get.
I don't deserve it.
But I feel like that's because you live in a monastic college. That's probably why it kind of happens to you a lot.
Oh, what, me? Yeah, I live in nun school.
I don't know how you got in.
Lot of tucking.
Is that what they're praying for? That, like, you don't have to tuck anymore? You can be a full-fledged nun as you wish?
The point is they don't know that I'm tucking, man. They're not aware of it.
It's not the matter, like, I'm going to ask God. I'm going to ask God to end the pain of your dick between your thighs.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Please end James's suffering.
We know he's a boy and we're okay with it, but he refuses to untuck his weenie.
But yeah, I just love the moral high horse of, like, Arkansas basically saying that they're such a bastion of goodness that God is, like, fucking gonna murk this guy in hell unless they pray for him. And also, I would love to see how this motion kind of materialized itself in everyday life. Like, did they have to set aside time in every service and actually pray for this dude? How could that possibly actualize in the real world? It sounds like it's a joke, but it probably wasn't.
I mean, nowadays you just sue. State of Arkansas has lodged a libel suit against private individual.
How does legislature kind of work? Like, once he's died, do we still have to pray for his soul?
Especially then. Like, I mean, that's actually when his soul's at risk.
Yeah, while you're in your flesh prison, like, they can't touch you. That's the point. Doesn't matter what you do.
No, I'm just saying, are people still praying for him? Like, are people actually, like, in churches breaking the law by not praying for Mencken?
Possibly. There might be a statute of limitations on it.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're describing, Val, is absurd. Still praying for Mencken, or whatever his name, Murkit, or whatever his name is.
Anyway, I also find it funny that being racist didn't stop him from enjoying Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
That's the equivalent of the, like, I'm not racist, but argument, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I'm not racist, but I read Huckleberry Finn.
It's not a rate. Well,
Yeah.
it's not the most PC book, but it wasn't written when PC was a thing.
Yeah,
Not a
but, I mean,
racist
that's
book.
like saying, I mean, James, not to point fingers, but I mean, we all enjoy H.P. Lovecraft. It doesn't make us all racists.
Oh, yeah, it does. It makes me a racist.
Would you?
I'm
I mean,
sitting there,
how much
I'm
of a
sitting there-
racist, James? Though I mean,
Oh,
are we talking 24-hour filibuster racist?
24 out, yep. And I'm there like, let me read for you the collective most racist passages of Lovecraft. And they're like, oh, God. There's a book called, like, Horror Red Hook, which is in the 1930s. Not in the 1930s, sorry, like in the boom of the 1920s. New York became a melting pot of culture, of the arts. Wasn't that great? No, says H.P. Lovecraft. Very bad, says H.P. Lovecraft. The foreigners are in, says H.P. Lovecraft. And that is basically the entire story.
In 1967, Purple Haze was recorded by Jimi Hendrix. James.
Way.
Do you know anything about kind of like the story of the song and how it was made?
No, but I do know the whole thing about the line "Kiss the Sky," which is often mistaken as "Kiss This Guy." But when Hendrix would perform it live, he would sing "Kiss This Guy" and point to members of his band.
So what I learned today about the making of the song is that it was actually nurtured during sleep. Apparently, Jimi Hendrix awoke after dreaming that he was walking under the sea. And inspired, he wrote an epic narrative. It's likely that a magazine extract from Philip Jose Farmer's sci-fi story Night of Light, which included a passage about a purplish haze of the night sky, provided the title. And on Boxing Day, he attended a press function in East London's Uppercut Club run by the former boxy Billy Walker. And in the club's tiny dressing room, he launched into the blistering riff, and every head turned. Apparently, at this point, Hendrix hadn't started taking LSD yet, but it was Chandler, his manager, and the manager's engineer that
recommended
kind of
it.
gave it. They're like, it needs a bit more
acid.
Needs a little bit more psychedelic accents in it. And when the recording was dispatched to Hendrix's American label, a note on the record said, "Deliberate distortion, do not correct."
I feel like that's a good name for an autobiography.
You say that about a lot of things.
There's a lot of good autobiography titles there. Deliberate distortion, do not correct. I like it.
And that wraps up today in history. So Purple Haze, Henry IV, and a little bit of Arkansas prayer, which means, of course, it is time as tradition to go to everybody's favorite segment, Famous Facts. So Famous Facts, of course, is the segment where I pick 5 people who are born on the day of our recording. I look up some facts about them and ask you to match the person with the fact. Famous, again, is a very, general term because oftentimes the people who are born on the same day vary massively in terms of their popularity with the common man. So forgive me if there are going to be some people on this list, as always, that you just don't know. So the first person on our list is Elizabeth Blackwell. She was born in 1821, and she was the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. 1960, Kerry Jean Atkinson was an American professional wrestler under the ring names Kerry Von Erich and the Modern Day Warrior and the Texas Tornado. 1970, Warwick Davis.
Hey!
English actor, television presenter, writer, director, and producer. 1976, another well-known one, Isla Fisher, Australian actress, voice actress, and author, wife of Sacha Baron Cohen. And 1990, Sean Kingston. If you were alive in 2007, you'll remember his Beautiful Girls. And he's described on Wikipedia as a Jamaican-American singer, songwriter, rapper, and record producer. So these are our people. Let's get to our facts. The first fact is that after surviving a near fatal accident, this person had to pay a fine of $180. Is it Sean Kingston, Isla Fisher, Warwick Davis, Kerry Jean Atkinson, or Elizabeth Blackwell?
I would go for the wrestler.
Sully, you're going for the wrestler. Jonah?
The singer.
$120.
180.
That seems a bit excessive.
But for an accident they had.
Yeah. Can you go through the people again?
So our first person was Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. Then we've got the Texas Tornado, or Carrie Jean Atkinson, who is a wrestler. Warwick Davis, I'm sure you don't need to know who he is because you know him very well. Isla Fisher, the actress, and Sean Kingston, singer, songwriter, rapper, record producer.
I'm going to say doctor. I feel like modern day fines people kind of get doled out are more intense than that. So Elizabeth Blackwell.
Okay, the next fact is that their father was a banker for the United Nations.
I'm going to go for the doctor. Wait, in
Wait,
what
she was the
year was
first
the
one?
doctor?
No, he's already out, so it's not the doctor.
Do you know who you're going for?
Isla Fisher.
Wait, can I change? I didn't seal it in. Chris Tarrant said,
Okay,
"Are you sure?" And I
But
said,
it's funny
no.
for you to be so wrong.
So who are you going for?
".
Obviously, United Nations were definitely active during those years.
So I missed out the first initial reading. Let's go for the actress.
And James?
I'm going to be boring, go with the group, and I'm going to say Isla Fisher. She just, I don't know, she looks like the kind of person who has UNE parents.
This person dated somebody who was 29 years younger than them.
I'm tempted to just say, was it Sean Kingston?
Okay.
The wrestler.
And James, who are you going to go for?
So I've gone for, I'm going to say, yeah, Sean Kingston.
Fourth fact, I'm sorry about the phrasing, but I don't know what best way to say that. So I said that the occupation that they're famous for runs in the family. So their job is a family tradition.
I'm going to go for the doctor then.
So Saul, you're going for the doctor, you're going for Elizabeth.
Yes.
Jonah, who are you going for?
Warwick Davis.
Okay, James, who are you going for? You've
The
got
wrestler, the
wrestler.
wrestler, Texas Tornado, the wrestler.
Last fact, incredible. After an investigation into their lineage, this person found out that one of their ancestors was well known for performing as a minstrel in blackface.
Warwick Davis!
Warwick Davis! It's Warwick Davis!
They still had fucking minstrels and blackface when Elizabeth Blackwell was born, but hey ho, that's what I'm left with.
I was related to a minstrel as well.
Please let it be Warwick
Maybe
Davis.
it's the same one. Maybe Warwick Davis is a relative.
I have such a bad feeling about this one, but I don't know about you. I wouldn't be surprised if I walk away with 0.
Well, if you walk
So
away with
those-
0, no one's getting full marks, because on one we've all said the same thing.
Good
True.
point. Let's
Okay.
see if my arbitrary comment of she looks UNE, which you all agreed with, may I add, because we all voted for her.
She does look UNE.
She looks UNE!
She does look UNE.
You
Okay,
made that comment after I cast my vote,
Same.
so I don't want to get tied
No,
to that.
on a subconscious
allegation.
level, you agree that she looks UNE.
Her
Because
looks
you
got nothing
presented
to
with
do
5
with it.
people, and you said UNE.
I don't know what she looks like.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
She's in your favourite
Have you
film,
seen me?
Jonah.
What's
Yeah,
my favourite
that-
film?
Now you see me.
Just to remind you, our people were 1821, Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. 1960, Carrie Jean Atkinson, better known by names as Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, and the modern day Warrior. He's an American professional wrestler. 1970, we've got Warwick Davis, whoop whoop, English actor, television presenter, writer, director, producer, legend. 1976, Isla Fisher, Australian actress, voice actress, and author. And 1990, Sean Kingston, Jamaican American singer, songer, rapper, and record producer. So, our facts were, fact number 1, after surviving a near-fatal accident, this person had to pay a fine of $180. Saul, you went for the wrestler, Jonah, you went for Sean Kingston, and James, you went for Elizabeth Blackwell. It is, in fact, Sean Kingston. Sean Kingston survived a near-fatal jet ski accident in 2011 and was charged a fine of $180 for reckless driving. Despite the fact that he almost died, he dislocated his his jaw almost got ripped off. It was absolutely horrific. He was back to riding jet skis in 2018.
You telling me that story just made me think of that DJ Khaled getting lost at sea.
That's the most iconic
You
documentary.
know, the way it goes from
ever.
woo to it's dark, we don't know where we at.
Okay, so that means Jonah, you're leading with 1 point.
Of course it is.
Okay, their father was a banker for the United Nations. We have all agreed that Isla Fisher's got that UNE look, and it is true. It was Isla Fisher.
Hey!
Okay.
I love
So-
being validated on bullshit.
So the third fact was that this person dated somebody 29 years younger than them. Saul, you went for Sean Kingston. Jonah, you went for the wrestler. And James, you went for Sean Kingston as well. But in fact, it was Elizabeth Blackwell. Elizabeth Blackwell didn't
damn.
marry, but dated a man who was 29 years younger than her. This man was originally in their household, I think because he was...
Not have sex
baby.
with Elizabeth Blackwell, but ended up, fulfilling, breaking that one promise he made.
He was there as a suitor for her adopted daughter because she never married. So she took in this girl who was an orphan and she kind of worked as half servant, half daughter within their household. And this guy came to play suitor to Kitty, but essentially he got himself another kitty. At this point, Elizabeth was 55 years old and he was 24, I want to say. Yeah.
That would add up, yeah.
Which is like, good job to you, Elizabeth, man. Shit. Would you have thought that? Clearly not. You all didn't vote for it. But it's just, I wouldn't have
funny.
thought that.
I was thinking it was either between the rapper or her, but...
All right. So the next fact is that their job runs in the family. Saul, you went for Elizabeth Blackwell.
Which is
I'm afraid that's
wrong.
not true. Jonah, you went for Warwick Davis. That's not true. But James, it was in fact the wrestler. It wasn't Kerry Jean Atkinson. In fact, 4 of his brothers and I think his dad had a background in wrestling.
I'm not going to act like that wasn't just a lucky guess.
So the last fact is that after an investigation into their lineage, this person found out that one of their ancestors was well known for performing as a minstrel in blackface. It was Warwick Davis.
Yeah!
This came out when he was featured on an episode of Who Do You Think You Are? So this was televised, him finding out that he was related to a person who entertained in blackface was on TV. So I know that the last one's a bit of a cop-out. I guess you could say that Warwick Davis' profession kind of does run in the family because he's an entertainer and so was his ancestor. But there are so many facts that I find out about these people that I wish I could list as the facts that I make you guess for, but they're so specific. Like, for example, Elizabeth Blackwell was, of course, the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States, but also had massive beef with Florence Nightingale.
Really?
So Blackwell had a massive falling out with Florence Nightingale after Nightingale returned from the Crimean War. Nightingale wanted Blackwell to turn her focus to training nurses and couldn't see the legitimacy in training female physicians. After that, Blackwell's comments upon Florence Nightingale's publications were often highly critical. It's very interesting because I know of Florence Nightingale, but I've never heard of Elizabeth Blackwell. Maybe if I was raised in America, she would be one of the first people to come to mind when I think about women doing it for women in men-dominated fields. I'm sure, James, you probably know this, but Warwick Davis actually played Yoda in Phantom Menace. Whenever you see Yoda walking around, that's Warwick Davis in a Yoda suit. Another one is that during the filming of Return of the Jedi, Mark Hamill bought Davis every Star Wars figure he didn't already have because Warwick Davis was such a massive fan of Star Wars.
And was only 11 years old. He played Wicket.
Yeah.
Jump, jump.
Didn't he hump Han Solo's leg, or was that a different Ewok?
I don't know.
Was Wicket the one that humps?
Is Wicket the one that humps? These are the questions.
Did Warwick Davis grind his dick in a furry suit against
On
Han
Harrison
Solo?
Ford.
On Harrison Ford, yeah.
Warwick Davis, furry suit, Harrison Ford. Go, Google, go.
You know the funny thing about his performance as the Ewok, he actually was inspired by his dog. That's where his performance came from. That's why they kind of turned their heads in that inquisitive manner, because he was inspired by the way that his dog often regarded him. So that's what inspired his performance in that film. Isla Fisher, there's a quote by her about her conversion to Judaism, which makes her sound like, I know she's in love with him. She's married to Sacha Baron Cohen. She has 3 children with him. But this quote makes her sound really fucking desp. She said, "I will definitely have a Jewish wedding just to be with Sacha. I would do anything, move into any religion to be united in marriage with him. We have a future together, and religion comes second to love as far as we're concerned. Do anything. I would move into any religion."
Fair enough.
Hey, I ain't casting any stones in that glass house.
I mean, I know you should if you love someone, but at the same time, it's just a really weird
I
phrasing.
mean, technically speaking, as far as all parties are concerned, if you don't believe, you shouldn't. You should convert because you believe, not because you want to marry someone a certain way. If that makes you believe, if your insatiable desire for them makes you believe, then fair enough. But otherwise, it's a bit sus.
It is a bit sus, I agree. Sean Kingston's career began because he was discovered on MySpace by a music producer who later got him a partnership deal with Sony. The reason I brought this up is because a lot of the time when people talk about Sean Kingston, they kind of use this to be like, wow, he was so amazing. He was discovered. No, he used to literally spam these music producers to check out his MySpace page.
Yeah, but you got to hype yourself before people hype you. That's what I
Well,
say.
okay, so the score is, let me quickly count that. So, Jonah, you got a point for the first one. The second one,
None the rest.
Hey,
none of the rest.
Hey.
I think all in all, James, I think you won the famous facts this time because I think you got 3 points, Saul got 2 points, and Jonah got 2 also.
Sloppy victory, that one.
Well, hey, what are you talking about? This is the best I've ever done. One off a victory, joint second.
Joint last.
That concludes famous facts,
Cool.
which means it's now time for Google reviews.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Google reviews. As you all know, Google reviews is where I have found reviews off of the internet, with people obviously reviewing famous landmarks, locations, shops, anything really. And it is your job to decipher what place or location the review is talking about. Probably should be called Google reviews, as most of these are trusted pilot this week. As today, I am doing high street shops.
Cool.
For the sake of the audience, I will be omitting certain details from these reviews that would give away the shop, like their name, etc. But other than that, I will read them as they are written. First review, everyone. 1 star. Before Christmas, my wife ordered online an Oral-B electric toothbrush. A collection date was indicated, and up until that time, she was bombarded with emails imploring her to buy additional items. My wife duly drove over to the store to collect the toothbrush, only to be told that it was out of stock. She was offered an alternative model at the same price, but which was not discounted. She declined. I twice emailed the CEO for a response. Did not receive a reply.
Funny that.
So much for this store caring about its customers. I suggest anyone who has a problem should email the CEO directly. It might wake him up to the fact that there are unhappy customers. So your options are Asda, Argos, Tesco.
Just wonder which one of the CEOs of these stores would have their email readily available. Why would you?
I'm going to say Argos.
So Jonah is saying Argos. By the way, sorry guys, you can pick the same one. That was just for the Halloween thing.
Oh, okay.
You guys can pick the same ones.
In spite of that, I think I'm going to go for Tesco because as somebody who has a Tesco club card, I feel like they really fucking harass you with the emails they send you. I feel like Tesco would be the kind of people to email you at several times a week, basically being like, you want to buy something else with your toothbrush? And then when you get there for the toothbrush, they're like, oh, we don't have it. I feel like Argos has been in the game of order online, pick up in store longer than Tesco to make that silly mistake.
Okay, and so
I'm going for Argos because that's my logic. No, I think it's because click and collect. Can't imagine anyone doing that for Tesco's for a toothbrush.
well, I will tell you this, guys. No points this round.
Oh, wow.
The correct answer was Asda, which of course is owned by
fuck?
Walmart. So somebody was emailing the CEO of Asda about their toothbrush and was surprised when they didn't care. There we go. And also, it's the fact that she was offered a replacement, but because they didn't discount the replacement, she didn't take it.
No. I think what they're saying is that the Oral-B toothbrush was on sale. She bought it, and they tried to give her a replacement of a different brand that wasn't discounted but cost the same price.
Yeah, CEO, what are you doing?
I really love this call to arms from
rise up, everyone. Well, to be fair, thankfully for the poor CEO of Asda, God bless our capitalist overlord, maybe throw me some cheddar this way for keeping your identity safe. The man did broadcast his email in that review. So
I wonder how many customer service representatives this person shouted at in order to get that very pricey information.
Yeah, I wonder. Because that is there's salespeople out there, eating their hearts out. They don't have information. 1 star. I went to the cafe and brought a tuna and cucumber sandwich. At the table, I realised that the sandwich was in a plastic tray, as well as being in a wrapper. In these times of global warming and overconsumption, why does this shop think it is okay to generate excess plastic waste will not be eating here again. Frowny face. So your options are Waitrose, Costa, Little Chef.
I find this so stupid because it's not like the tray gets thrown away once it's used once. It gets washed and recycled. I think it would be Waitrose or Costa who would have the kind of clientele who would feel like their opinions about that would need to be kind of spoken aloud. But then it's also, I feel like it's the person who goes to Little Chef that's trying to make themselves feel.
So it's all
That would
three.
kind of- I think I'm gonna go for Little Chef. You know, I think it's Little Chef.
Okay, Little Chef.
I was gonna go for Little Chef
Well, why not?
to keep things interesting. I'm gonna go
Is
for.
it Little Chef even real?
I think they're all closed now.
I've already locked in my answer. Can't say no.
Little Chef's real.
The Little Chef is real, but I'm pretty sure they've closed down most of them. now.
No.
I'm going for Little Chef as well.
Jonah.
Costa.
Ladies and gentlemen, no points this round. Shameful display so far. It was Waitrose. Right, so this next review is 2 stars, and it follows. Ask for hot tea. Get to work, and water is light brown with floaties in it. Had not put tea bag in water yet. They serve dirty water. Your options are Starbucks, McDonald's, Cafe Nero. Who is out there selling dirty water?
I'm pretty sure it's probably just Limescale. I'm going for Cafe Nero.
Cafe Nero. Jonah.
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Val.
Go for Starbucks. Why not?
Well, that way, at least one of us has to be right.
One of you has to be right, and it is Jonah.
Damn
It
it!
was McDonald's.
I was thinking
Who
McDonald's.
is selling everyone dirty water.
I should trust my
It's,
gut.
it's the fact that that's only 2 stars. Yeah, it's like 2 stars. They serve me nothing, and I'm there like, there's people out there who give 1 stars for like my shoe slipped on the floor as I walked in the door. 1 star. But onto another review. So this review is a 3-star review.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're getting up in the world. Nicely set out, knowledgeable staff, and a good range of products. Only negative is that every single time I go into this store, my pubes start to itch. Coincidence?
Crabs know where they came from.
Coincidence? Yeah. So, options. Anne Summers, W.H. Smith, or Pets at Home. Jonah.
Pets at Home, I think that there's disturbing implications there. Anne Summers makes the most sense, but it almost makes too much sense. Like, that answer's too obvious. No one's knowledgeable in W.H. Smith.
Shots
Oh,
fired.
sometimes I would say it's a double bluff. I'm gonna go with Anne Summers.
Okay. Val?
I agree with Jonah in terms of W.H. Smith. I don't feel like you really need the staff to be super knowledgeable. And the phrasing of the question makes it sound like this person regularly returns there. No, I think like you don't really come back to W.H. Smith that often. Like let's be honest, we all have a graveyard of fucking stationery at home. I think it's probably going to be Pets at Home.
The Pets at Home. So,
I'm going for W.H. Smith now, because then that way at least one of us has
well,
to
let's
be
get a
right.
point. And the point goes to Saul. It was
Yeah!
W.H. Smith.
What the
Why?
fuck?
I
Itchy
don't know.
pubes!
The man
Itchy
comes
pubes!
in and has itchy pubes in W.H. Smith. Yeah, that shocked me, that one, but what can you do?
By the way, James, just to apologise, I was the one that actually wrote that review, so I knew it.
So, the next one is a 1-star review. Woman staff think the customers owe them. Old, haughty, miserable. We are the customers. Without us, you got no job. Show respect. Took away lettuce, and when I asked, said they were short of it. Not my problem. Haughty old boot piped up. It only got up to the line. Not sure if she knew which line. Proceeded to continue with a so-called salad. Told them to forget it. Really disgusted small portion. Bad service. Miserable matron-like woman staff. The options are Burger King, Subway, Wimpy. Val, you're first.
I think Subway, because it's the only place you would see salad like separate ingredients. When you go to Burger King, you kind of just go in and you order. Your food comes. No woman comes up to your burger and then extracts the lettuce. You know.
So,
I've never been to a Wimpy's though, so it might be that.
Yeah, I'm
So-
going for Wimpy's then.
Jonah.
I think Wimpy. It's
Wimpy.
A place lost. It's a place stuck in the past.
It is indeed, but the correct answer is Subway. So you have all
Yeah.
got 1 point out of 5. So well done.
Mostly appalling rate of.
The next one. We've gone up again to 2 stars. Good for small things. Just don't ever buy hair dye from here unless you want to destroy your hair. Options are Aldi, Poundland, Boots. Sol, you are first.
I want to say Poundland. My gut is saying Poundland.
They do sell hair dye.
Yeah, I know.
You saying Poundland, Sol?
I'm saying Poundland.
Good. Poundland. Jonah.
I agree with Saul.
Poundland. Val. You gonna make
Go
it
for
full health?
Aldi.
Nope. She's gonna defy convention. And it's gonna cost her. It was Poundland.
Ba-ba-ba.
Who's buying hair dye from Poundland? I know what you mean, but that's why I picked it. Next one. Nice staff in this branch. Terrible manager who would tell your workmates your faults before you. The area manager wasn't much better. Options are Superdrug, Boots, or Morrison's. Jonah, you're first.
Superdrug.
Superdrug. Val.
Let's go for Boots.
Okay. And Saul.
I'll go for the third one. So Morrison's.
Okay. The answer is Superdrug.
Damn.
What made me laugh about this review is the fact that he's like, oh, the managers would tell you your faults to your workmates. And I'm like, but it is Superdrug. So was he just like going and be like, I know, say for like, fiber gel because he's constipated. And the manager came in and was like, is this for the constipated guy? Right in front of everyone.
It was somebody who works at Superdrugs who's pretending to be a customer.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, they're
they're
getting berated by the manager, like, you're this and you're that. And they're like, I'm going to give you a terrible review, but we're going to pretend to be a customer.
What customer knows what the regional manager was like compared to this one?
Yeah, exactly. So the next one is another 1-star review, and it's quite a long one. It starts off with gold. I am so triggered. I came looking to buy BTS Love Yourself, and I found out you haven't had it in stock since Christmas Eve, and it's the 20th of January. This is unacceptable. Your employee told me to buy another K-pop album. Are you stupid? K-pop? That's not just K-pop, that's BTS. Full caps from now on, may I add. Almost their own genre of music. Fight me. I am disappointed with your dedication. Please fix up, pattern up, and just get more stock, or I am suing. Fight me. Options include Soundgarden, HMV, and British Heart Foundation.
Oh, I really love the passion in this review.
It's your
Fight
go
me.
first, Val, by the way. HMV. So,
I was going HMV.
you can go HMV if you want. There's no need for you all to martyr yourselves with 2 wrong answers, by the way. What are we saying?
HMV.
HMV. Jonah?
Same.
Yeah, well, yeah, I nearly let it slip with the H, so you are all right. Congratulations on a technicality.
3 points all round.
No, 3 points. Yeah, no, it's so currently the scores are 4 to Jonah, 3 to Saul, 2 to Val. So 2 more to go.
James,
So,
can I get an extra point
No.
for...
whatever the answer is, no. I'm shutting it down right now. What would you like
That
your
was
extra
such a-
point for? I'd like to hear the begging, anyway.
I think I deserve an extra point for being able to see through the lies in the previous review of pretending to be a customer.
No.
Well, you don't know
Anyway,
that for sure.
good try.
It's just
So-
speculation and wanting reward.
This is another one. So this is a 1-star review, as always. Last time I went to the Piccadilly store, I saw a member of staff lazily throw a skirt on top of the hangers instead of on one. To think I applied for a job at this joke of a company and got rejected. Yet they hire staff that don't know how to put a piece of clothing on a hanger really just says something. Get it together. The options are River Island, Next, or Primark. Saul, you're up first.
Primark.
Saul says Primark. Jonah.
River Island.
Jonah says River Island. Val.
It's got to be River Island.
Okay. Saul, point for you.
Yay!
This is the reason I put this one in here is firstly because it's blatantly someone who's upset they didn't get hired. Secondly, we've all been to a Primark. Skirt not on a hanger correctly is not what would stand out amidst the carnage. Now I've worked at Primark, and I don't blame Primark for the quality of their shops. I blame the hordes of animals that go in there because perfectly reasonable people come in the door and they just act like apes and just throw clothing around like you wouldn't do in any other shop.
Now, James,
can I please ask you to stop showing off in front of this person who's clearly bereft about not having gotten the job at Primark?
Yeah,
can you please stop
just
showing
saying,
off?
you know,
Like, oh, look at me, oh, Mr. Big Balls. I worked at Primark and you didn't.
Yeah, I got the job and you didn't, reviewer. So,
bitch.
and you used to hide in the coats and fall asleep.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
The reason why I thought it was Primark is because I have been to Piccadilly, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen a River Island or a Next there.
Ah, well, it's Piccadilly store in Manchester, so.
Oh. And I'm probably wrong because I just don't pay attention. I don't visit the centre.
So here is the last review, everyone. And it is short but sweet. 1 star. Their products explode. Why is no one talking about this? Your options include Apple Shop, Tesco, Costa. Jonah, you're first.
The products explode.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I know it's Samsung phones that were renowned for exploding at one point, but I'm going to go with Apple.
Okay.
The Apple Store.
Val.
I'm gonna go for Tesco because I've already lost. I've got nothing to gain.
Okay.
I was going to go for Apple because I don't know. I can't imagine anything from Tosca, Tesco or Costa exploding.
So, Saul and Jonah, point apiece.
Yeah.
Hey.
In last place, thoroughly, is Sweet Host Valentini with 2 points out of 10. Next, joint first is Saul and Jonah with 5 apiece.
Yay!
Hey,
Well,
joint
Best
last
I've
one
ever
first.
done. Joint with Jonah, both rounds.
It's, yeah.
First episode where Jonah didn't get a full-on fucking black belt.
Yeah, Google reviews he doesn't get full house. It's usually
Oh, fuck me. If someone got
Famous
10
fact.
out of 10, James.
It's the nature of famous facts is that once you've got one wrong,
yeah,
you've
Fuck.
automatically got another one wrong.
yeah, you've got 2 wrong. Yeah, in this it's like you could be wrong at your leisure.
Well, you are the ones that decided that you didn't want to be able to put more than one person.
Just a warning, guys. This week's creepypastas seem like everyone's just trying to write scary Dr. Seuss books.
Oh, they'll rhyme.
They
Not-
rhyme.
quite a few of them.
Okay.
Guys, true ascension. Creepypasta spoken word poetry.
Oh no. No.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Lean forward. We are here once again, boys and girls.
How do you invade my privacy even though
Yeah,
we're in
over
the
the
same room?
internet. It's gross.
Creepypastas, as we all know. Well, if you don't know, then I'm just about to tell you.
He's so close, I find it disgusting. It's like he's leaning over my shoulder. I can feel his beard.
So creepypastas.
Stop it!
So creepypastas are short, scary stories spread over the internet. As I've said before, Slenderman, perfect example. Otherwise, I mean, mostly we haven't had a really good modern creepypasta. If you consider like the age of the internet spreading rapidly, like I mean, in real life, Slenderman isn't that old, but in internet life, he's ancient.
He's ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient.
Pod thing? Because nobody actually ate them.
But the Tide Pod.
Fucking
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah.
I thought it was a challenge. No.
Challenge your mates to die.
Okay.
Sorry, this reminds me of that like meme post where somebody was like, "I'm still haunted by the memory of when we were playing Truth or Dare and I was dead to leave."
I have seen that. Yeah, I was dead to leave.
These two have been released in the last day or so.
Hot off the press.
Let's just see what you think. This one is called Sick.
Stop it, Saul. Seriously, for fuck's sake.
I called in sick to work today. Sometimes it's not so bad. My head is stuffy, my body's achy, my hands and legs are kinda shaky. My eyes are wary and sort of blurry. My sinuses too has started hurting. My nose is dripping, my stomach bloated. My cheeks, in fact, are kinda swollen. With that, I called in sick. I thought the average flu for sure. Who wouldn't with what I've got? But something told me it was more than that. When I turned the TV on, there were riots in Virginia and looting in New York. They were declaring martial law in towns I've never heard before. They were interviewing doctors who had learned of a disease, and they mentioned the plague began in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hello, today we're standing outside of a medical school asking these wannabe doctors about disease. Well, today I learned about the Spanish influenza, and sounds pretty scary.
They interviewed a patient who was pointing at his eyes. He said, "There's spiders all around us. They laid eggs inside of us. These spiders here are poisonous." Then he dropped his hands and died.
What a fuck! That exact moment, like perfectly on that journalist is going to be like, yes, such perfect timing.
The doctor on the scene spoke of symptoms that he knew. He said, "A stuffy head, body aches, your hands and legs will kind of shake." I love that doctor will say that. "Your eyes are wary and maybe blurry. There's a chance your sinuses might be hurting. Your nose is drippy, your stomach bloated. Your cheeks are almost always swollen. These symptoms are quite similar to the common cold or flu and can quickly lead to suicide if you let it consume you." In a shock to hear the news, I felt I couldn't watch no more, but I will not take this lying down and let them win this war. So I drove down to the market buying cans of spider spray. I purchased deadly foggers that will drive them all away. I placed them throughout the house, 100 cans for sure, and proceeded to ignite each one and started on my cure. I sat back down, inhaling deeply to fumigate their nests. My eyes would swell, but what the hell, no more will they infest. I sat there, watching TV as I grinned from ear to ear, shouting out to all those doctors, "Hey, the cure started here!" I started feeling dizzy, and my knees came to the floor. I could barely see the TV, and my sinuses were sore. With every breath I took, I knew I'd save another life, and the spider eggs within me will have no chance to multiply. But then I noticed something that had taken me off guard. A commercial telling parents, "This movie's rated R." Denying my stupidity, I tried calling to the door, but my pulse had dropped, my heart had stopped, my nerves had caused my eyes to pop, and then I took my final breath and stared back at the screen at the movie called Infection, which was done infecting me. They did a second autopsy since I was 33 years old, but they still ruled it a suicide, simply depressed from a common cold.
Oh, what an ending! I love it. Oh, it was great. That was genuinely great. I really enjoyed that one. That just kills us all because he's sick, because he's an idiot. Brilliant.
Yeah, I can't even make fun of this creepypasta because it's like it
It's
knows what
great.
it's doing.
It knows what it's doing. It's great.
Well, that's the thing. We've often read out bad creepypastas, but this one already in one day has over 900 likes.
Yeah, great.
Good job, Chris Carver. Now the next one. It's
not going to be as good, is it?
We'll see. This is Charlie's. So I've got a treat for you at the end, so that's fine.
Surprises all round. Okay.
Yes. So this one is called Charlie's in the Trees. Charlie's in the trees, sweaty palms and bloody knees. We knew that there'd be days like these because Charlie's in the trees. Charlie's in the trees, there's fear that reeks upon the breeze. You can't see him, but you he sees because Charlie's in the trees. Charlie's in the trees, all our senses under siege. He's making bad things come in threes because Charlie's in the trees. Charlie's in the trees, skin red war from ticks and fleas. Pain is all he guarantees because Charlie's in the trees. Charlie's in the trees, picking men off by degrees. Terror spreading like disease because Charlie's in the trees. Charlie's in the trees, decay his only expertise. Only chunks of meat appease because Charlie's in the trees. Now Charlie has you in the trees, deaf and blind to all your pleas. Once was lonely, now at ease, because you're with him in the trees.
It's about Vietnam.
I was going to say, is this the ramblings of some like LSD hopped up Vietnam bit?
Well, the first comment was when the tree started speaking Vietnamese. Which I just thought was a really good comment.
Oh, it's good.
Got a treat for you.
Okay.
So this one has 7 likes. In light of the comment to the last one, this one is called Rooster. I'm an old man now. What kind of lousy introduction is that? I should go with emotion. Yeah, that's a real introduction. In 1970, after I served my last tour of my duty in Vietnam, I was greeted at the Memphis airport by raging hippies. They spit on me in my homeland. What a load of crap that was, especially since I'll never forget the encounter that I had overseas just before I shipped home. We had moved into our current positions on top of the Chu Chi tunnel complex. I was by Chiem, our interpreter, and Collins, the radio man, when the Prick 77 radio came to life with the Kong frequency. Lot of screaming and panicked yelling, according to Chiem. Lots of gunfire. Chiem said they were screaming about having dug into a wrong place. They had woken up something. We were so focused on what was happening underneath us, we didn't notice the kid popping out of the tunnel entrance and running away screaming. But now there was dead silence. I volunteered to go into the tunnels and found a god-awful mess. Bodies torn apart, missing limbs, blood everywhere, finger scratches in the tunnel's ceiling, sides and floor. Got out as fast as I could. In the now pouring rain, we watched as the ground tore open half a mile away and something ran off. 2 days later, generals from both sides were standing at the hole it made. Now there's a real reason they bombed the hell out of Chu Chi twice. If there was one Asian dragon, there might be more. I swear that's what we saw.
What?
You killed a dragon?
Yeah.
Jealous, James?
Well,
This is why people volunteered to go to Vietnam. It's because they could kill Asian dragons. All that XP.
Oh, I know that delicious XP.
well, the thing is, like, I was reading that. I was like, where's this going? Where's this going? Where's this going? And then I read the end and just went, what?
Huh?
Why did you think?
Is it like a nod to the King Arthur mythos?
Maybe.
Where I think like it's some like King Arthur had a dream which Merlin explained, but it's like he had a dream that when he was digging like under the foundations of Camelot, there were 2 dragons fighting, but the dragons represented like England and Wales,
Oh, okay.
and one wins. I can't remember which one. I suspect.
Well, I suspect England. Yeah.
But is it like a nod to that with dragons living under hills?
In Vietnam.
I think someone just went Vietnam. What monsters could be in there? And they were like Asian dragons.
They never look very scary though. Maybe it's because I'm just so used to seeing them as like festival things.
Oh, you mean like one of those giant like festival dragons?
Yeah, that or Mushu from Mulan.
Just the bodies.
Mushu did it! Eddie Murphy's down there! Red dragon, voice like Eddie Murphy. He's cracked. Get him out of here.
You gotta get out of here.
Section 8
He's
straight
killed
away.
everyone.
He's gonna kill you too, I swear it.
It was amazing they see him tear his way up the ground like half a mile away. Mushu's tiny.
Yeah, Mushu's, he's grown. Think about when Mulan was a thing.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, he's bigger. He's angrier now.
So what? So no, the plot of Mulan 2 then is Mushu has gone mad but grown really big after being trapped underground. Is rampaging in Vietnam, killing everyone. So Brendan Fraser has to go revive the spirit of Mulan to calm him down.
Yeah.
Or Chinese mummies.
Yeah, because they worked so well the first time.
Yeah, they've improved the CGI. Don't worry.
I mean, fair. Like, I love how people are like, "Oh, that shout on the mummy," and you're like,
Mummy was shit from the start.
"Mummy was never good," but Well, is that the last of the creepypastas, Saul?
They could do one more.
Oh, one more. Let's go. We've got 2 Vietnam ones. One about Mushu killing everyone. One of them is just some guy who's cracked and is like, I don't know, maybe the Dr. Seuss book saved a bullet round and now he's singing about Charlie in the trees. He's going to get fragged, I'm telling you. But honestly, take that creepypasta, and this is not a testament to it being like scary on its own, but it sounds like the kind of thing you'd hear muttered by someone in Apocalypse Now. It's dark, everyone's like in the foxholes, and you just hear on the wind some guy being like, Charlie's in the trees, Charlie's in the trees. You'd be like, all right, they're crazy. We get it, Stanley Kubrick. They're crazy.
This was one of my backups. I'm going back to creepypasta.com, and this has 8.6 S's out of 10.
What, is that for spooks?
Yeah.
Do they genuinely measure it in spooks?
Yeah, we've done this, James. We're going back to the creepypastas with S ratings, not on No Sleep or short.
Oh, but what's S? What are the S's? What do they mean? Are they scares, spooks, smiles? I think it's spooks. I choose to believe the currency of creepypasta is spooks.
So this is called The Window. I was in my bedroom doing the typical at-home teenager thing, staying up late.
How unconvincing!
Fucking jacking off.
No, sorry, I just mean how unconvincing. Like if someone was to be like, you imagine grizzled detective, like standard drama. What were you doing last night? At home, standard, teenage things.
Well, he's going to explain. Staying up late, digging around the depths of the internet, and generally not paying attention to anything other than what's on my monitor. Again, going back to the detective, like, what were you doing last night? I was definitely not paying attention to anything other than my monitor.
Yeah, you can't prove I was there. I was not paying attention.
It was the early morning, around 2 o'clock, and everyone in my house was asleep but me. The room was nice and warm despite it being the dead of winter, since we had the windows replaced last week. We had been losing heat, especially in my bedroom, through some old storm windows, but the bitter cold was now kept outside. I don't remember what I was doing. I think in the terror that consumed me I must have forgotten. I heard a noise at my window. Not the sound of a bug flying into it, or the shrubs brushing against it. No, this was an odd noise, a thumping sound, something I had never heard before. I didn't think
Parents having sex?
Yeah, he actually lied. He wasn't the only one awake.
Honey, now we've had the windows done, I feel like I can finally bed you again. It just made me feel like less of a man, having a a below B-rated economic house. Now I'm environmentally secure, I feel I can satisfy you once again. Insulation is key to a happy marriage.
Oh.
Sorry.
I didn't think anything of it initially. Whether that was because I genuinely believed it was nothing, or because I didn't want to find out what it was. Definitely parents banging. I can't say, but I sat there for a moment and just listened to it. It was distinctly rhythmic.
Parents are banging again.
Economically so.
Thump, thump, thump. It only lasted 15 seconds or so.
Dad! When it's economical!
No drafts!
And then it stopped.
To be fair, he did say they had the draft in for a while, so the dad probably didn't get any for a while.
Yeah.
So 15 seconds. It's more than most of us can hope for.
You know what? You know what the problem was is that the two of them were such Kama Sutric horn dogs that the covers always got cast aside. And of course, if you're in a drafty house, ruins the mood. Suddenly, your flesh is exposed to icy chill. What about snug sex? These two, but with plenty of movement, dynamic but snug.
Right.
Dynamic and swift. Swift, dynamic, secure. Some kind of web-based Kickstarter thing. Swift, dynamic, secure.
So there's this guy, and he's just heard thump, thump, thump for 15 seconds. And instead of figuring out what it is, he just sat there and just listened to it. It's so weird. I shuddered, but shrugged it off. And after spending another hour or two browsing and consciously not looking towards the window, turned my computer off and fell into an uneasy but uneventful sleep.
Uneventful sleep. I like those.
What did you do last night? Oh, I slept uneventfully.
Uneventfully, actually. I was surprised. I was really hoping for, more.
This morning, after the sun had been up for a few hours, and the things that go bump in the night were doing whatever they're doing daylight hours.
Sorry. You're at your computer screen, okay? You type, the things that go bump in the night were doing whatever they do in daylight hours. You look up and you go, fuck yeah, and you keep going.
I walked to my window and spent a few minutes trying to replicate the sound I heard.
Very good.
I tapped the window, bumped it with some soft objects.
What is he doing? A weird skin.
Cock. The soft object of this cock.
Yeah, he's like, it was very cold.
The window cleaner walks up and
mate?
just sees this kid just rubbing his dick on the window.
Moaning like his mother. He's like,
Satisfied customer.
They've got to pay more. Oh my god.
Yeah, he doesn't need. No, he's a veteran window cleaner. It doesn't even faze him, mate. He just keeps cleaning.
Yeah.
Even locked and unlocked it, but I couldn't for the life of me figure out what made the sound. Nothing I did was even close. I figured out the event must have been a fluke, and the day was normal until this evening. My dad arrived home from work at the usual time.
Dad's the best. I love Dad. He's just...
So he arrived at the usual time and decided the house was too stuffy. Wife, the house is too stuffy. We're not having any more intercourse tonight, so we can open a window.
He's suitably powered the atmosphere. What's he trying? Is he like trying to make some kind of micro atmosphere in his own home? It's got to be perfect. I want it to rain in the living room, honey.
Decided that the house was too stuffy, so he came into my room and went to open the window.
Is this a cock print?
No, but okay, James. Right, you're in a house, and it's quite stuffy. Your parents walk upstairs, through into your bedroom, and open just your window.
Well, you know that's standard. Like, you better not be.
Better not be fucking wiping your dick on the window.
Yeah, the window cleaners had that look in their eye again. Were you flashing them?
We're in Texas, so winter evenings are sometimes very comfortable, as was the case today. Never in my life before that moment have I genuinely wished to be deaf. My dad forgot to unlock the window before trying to open it, and when he pulled up, it produced the same noise I heard last night. My window only has handles on the inside.
Cool, good for you.
So what? Someone opened it and closed his window.
I was trying to open it for 15 seconds the night before. That's it.
Basically, what you're telling me is some poor ghosty boy wanted to get out, but couldn't.
No, he was trying to get in, I think.
No, but he said that the handles can only open on the inside.
Exactly. So they were trying to open it and it wasn't opening. So they're trying to open it from the outside.
That could be a burglar boy. That could be the window cleaner thinking you're enticing him. I mean, the timeline's screwed up for that theory, but I like it nonetheless. I saw what you was flashing.
And old Jeremy wants some.
Now we get to the given part.
That concludes Creepypastas.
With that, I guess we've come to the end of our show.
We certainly have.
Thank you for joining us on our first episode of 2019. There'll be many more to come this year and more exciting projects too. See you later. Bye.
Boy.
Boy.
So,